And up next, our next guest says that childbirth really took its toll on her body. But after struggling with a low libido, incontinence and the loss of sexual confidence, mum of three, Gina Sigobodhla, decided to take action.
After meeting women's health expert Dr Sarah Jenkins, Gina opted for a new type of rejuvenation treatment known as the Vampire Vagina, which involves injecting a patient's own blood into their vagina.
Yeah, Gina says she's never looked back and joins us now to share her story alongside Dr Sarah Jenkins, who's here to explain a little bit more about this type of treatment. Thank you so much for coming in, Gina. It's lovely to meet you. Well, we'll find out a little bit more about what you've been through and the difference it's made in just a moment. Dr Sarah, it sounds like the sort of treatment with the title and the name, it sounds sort of a little bit horrific. It sounds a little bit sort of self-indulgent. It sounds sort of, it doesn't...
Scary a bit. Scary. Yeah.
But actually, when you hear Gina's story, what she's been through and the difference it's made to her life, you understand the fundamental importance of this for certain women.
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I'm all about empowering women to have good quality of life and to be able to manage medical symptoms that are associated with post-childbirth, with menopause and just being a woman, basically. So when people talk about vaginal rejuvenation or vampire vagina or vampire facelift, this isn't an indulgent treatment.
No.
This is actually managing medical symptoms that there is no other kind of treatment available for. So that's why I see so many women with very similar story to Gina. In fact, you don't even need to have children to have problems with incontinence and with vaginal atrophy and all those other associated symptoms that I treat.
So tell me about the actual treatment. How does it work and how do you do it?
OK. Little anatomy lesson, if you don't mind. So this is actually the vulva.
Yeah.
OK, so when people say vagina, for a medical person, the vagina is actually the birthing canal.
Right.
Okay? So this is our vulva. We need to know our vulva. We need to check our vulva. When it comes to the treatment, we actually use tiny little Botox needles, so it wouldn't even hurt any more than Botox.
OK.
And we inject into the clitoris, which is called the O shot, and then we inject all around the vagina, and that basically helps to rejuvenate the skin.
And what are you injecting?
You're injecting PRP, which is platelet-rich plasma. So you take your patient's own blood, and it's like this liquid gold, essentially. You inject it in. That sends signals to the body to say there's tissue damage.
Right.
And because of that, all of these lovely growth factors and all these healing things, cascade of things in your blood, comes along and causes collagen and elastin to be reformed. So it thickens that skin back up and also helps with natural lubrication. And it also helps to tighten a little bit where things have been made out of shape.
It's not as simple as just taking your own blood out and injecting it in. You have to go and spin it. You have to sort of separate it. And so there's a whole series of things that has to be done before it can be re-injected.
Yeah, and it can only be performed by medical practitioners that are correctly trained, because obviously, you know, it's an intimate examination. We have to be mindful of our patients and their story that they've been through, and we've got to safeguard vulnerable people.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. And Gina, this all started for you basically back in 2004 with the birth of your first child. Tell me what happened.
So Dara was born, you know, vaginally, but I had a third-degree tear.
Right.
So that was kind of like quite traumatic. And once I delivered, I was discharged home with a leaflet to say, you need to do some pelvic muscle floor exercises.
So it's basically take your baby, here's a leaflet, go and get on with it, essentially.
Yes, and nobody actually explained to me, you know, what they do and why I need to be doing it.
The importance of them,
Yes, and at that time, first child, you know, away from family.
You're just muddling through, trying to get everything OK.
And thinking people are emphasising you got to breastfeed, you need to make sure you're keeping yourself well, your child is looked after, so you've got the health visitor always on the door. And at that time, I didn't think about it. And before you know, again, I was pregnant.
Right. This time with twins,
With twins, yes. Right. And I didn't know I was pregnant, so it was kind of like a shock. And I was almost like about 11 to 12 weeks by the time I found out, because I already had a toddler, so things were quite busy. I just started a new job in a forensic unit where, you know, it's quite risky there, you know, for anybody, let alone to say that you're pregnant as well. So by the time they did some scans. They found out that one of the other baby wasn't growing properly.
Yes.
So I had all that stress to think what's going to happen. And I was having regular checkups with, you know, my obstetrician, who is amazing. And he had to kind of like seek for some more support because Ryan, the second twin, you know, just wasn't growing. So at 27 weeks, I had to deliver.
Yes.
And that was me going in, and they said, we got to do something tomorrow. You got to stay in. I got a toddler at home. I've got a husband.
Yeah.
I haven't even prepared for the twins. And they were delivered, and it was...
C-section this time?
Yeah, C-section, emergency C-section.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was quite traumatic in the sense that when the babies came out, baby A, oh, it's a girl. Baby B, it's a boy. And then 7 hours later, I had this entourage come in to say, what were you told? It's unfortunate we don't know what baby A is because he hadn't finished developing properly. So when he came out, you know, his organs were still forming. So they said it was on a Friday, and that was Friday when the 7/7 happened.
Right, okay.
So everyone was quite busy then. So they had to take, you know, some samples to take to Southampton Hospital, and we wouldn't know till Monday. So it was a weekend of just waiting and not knowing. And then on Monday, they finally came confirmed to say, no, he's actually a boy.
Okay.
So
There's a lot of trauma, anxiety and worry and concern.
yes. And straight after that, I think I stayed in hospital an extra week, and I had pulmonary embolism and preeclampsia, which meant I had blood clots on my lungs. So just thinking I nearly died with the twins. So all that going on. At that time, then no one emphasized about pelvic exercises or anything. So it was all concentrating on what else was going on. And it was quite a difficult time, you know. Ryan had to be transferred to King's Hospital because his bilirubin level rose up, and it meant he was quite jaundiced. And I had to leave the other baby, Jaden, in Southampton with my husband.
Crikey.
And, you know, the hospital was a massive hospital. And from then, I had a treatment plan from then. And finally, after 4.5 months of the back and forth in hospital, Ryan was discharged. And sadly, we took him back to King's Hospital for a checkup, and on our way back, he passed away in the car.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So you've gone through all this trauma
so
anyway.
much.
Yes.
Physical trauma, emotional
Mental trauma.
It didn't stop. You have another child, eventually got pregnant, had another child. At that point, though, Gina, so you've had these 3 births with all the trauma that's come with them, and suddenly you feel like your body is not your own. You're certainly struggling with what's happening for you physically as well. So why did you discover that this treatment was going to be the answer to what you were dealing with?
I think it's something I've always kind of like wanted to have done, because after the first birth, you know, definitely I just felt, you know, lost control, you know, in terms of like, you know, leaking, and most of the time always wanting to know where I can find the loo.
Bathroom.
And of course, you know, sexual intercourse, you know, when you start to lose that feeling, it's quite scary. And you also want to maintain a relationship with your partner. And I've got a loving husband, Kuda. And, you know, it pains me, you know, it was kind of like quite difficult for me to see him, you know, encourage me, but I didn't have confidence in myself.
Yeah.
But he was kind of like quite encouraging, and met Dr. Sarah through, you know, through work. And we always talked about, you know, women's health. And she always said to me, I will get there and I will find you.
Yeah.
And, you know, we will find a treatment for you. So when last year she approached me to say she's found something, I was so, so excited.
And Sarah, you must see this all the time, this amazing change in women with this treatment. How does it change their lives?
Well, basically, like we were saying earlier, it gives women back their quality of life. Because if you're waking up thinking, how is my vulva behaving today? Like, is it going to be a bad day? How many changes of clothes do I need to take with me? How many pads do I need to wear? Are the pads that I'm wearing going to give me thrush? Am I going to get like a nappy rash, essentially? Where's the toilet? How do I do this journey? How do I get to work? Do I smell of urine? You know, these are all the things that women come and they say to me, and they don't need to have had a traumatic childbirth experience. They don't need to have had children at all.
And is all of that gone now you've had this treatment, Gina?
To be honest, you know, most of the symptoms, you know, have, you know, kind of like reduced. For example, like going to the toilet at night, I used to be up and down at
all
least,
night.
you know, 3, 4, 5 times.
Which then, of course, affects your sleep
yes.
too.
And, you know, you're waking up, you're still feeling, you know, quite tired, and sort of like the dryness as well, you know, and I just feel that, you know, that sensation's come back, because I think it was after 2, 3 months I started to feel, you know, that, you know, something's actually changed. And I think maybe because I went in with quite a positive mind
approach,
to it, because I just really wanted it, you know, to work. And I had, you know, I had my trust in Dr. Sarah, because I knew this is, you know, a medical person who's researched.
Sure.
Yes.
And the way it was all done, you know.
And was also prepared to listen to you too. That's the other thing. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, ladies.
Sounds like you've got your smile back, and your husband, I'm sure, is enjoying it as well now. He's got his wife back, who's up there, and sort of, you know, that must be really, really important for the two of you. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you,
Sarah, it's good to see you as
well.
well. Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.